Okay, everybody, so we've got a lot to get through today. We're going to finish off the halachas, I hope. Try. The halachas of Rosh Hashana. How do you finish off the halachas of Rosh Hashana in 2 days? But we're just mamash bekitza, going through as much as we possibly can in the small amount of time that we have. We still have to move on to Aseret Tshuva, Yom Kippur, Sukkos, Dalet Minim, the Kanai Nahori. There's a lot to discuss, and there is only a small amount of time to discuss it in. So let us move on with the Gemara, famous Gemara in Hori Daf Yud Beis, where the Gemara talks about the Shaila. If Simona is a Milsa or Lav Milsa, meaning, do we say that when you do something, does that Chaim affect what is going to happen in the future, or does it not affect what happens in the future? And that's the Shaila in the Gemara in Horius, the Maisa we Paskin Zechariah. That Simone Milsahi, which means that which we do on Rosh Hashana, Azariah, is going to affect the coming year, the year that's about to enter, which is why it is extremely important for a person to make sure that how he acts, how he speaks, what he thinks about, what he says, everything should be very much watched and made sure that it is of the highest madrega on Rosh Hashana, because after all, Simone Milsi, as we know. Now, what is it negeya to what we're saying? What it's negeya to is what we call the Simonim, which here in Eretz Yisrael they're very, very makbid. And in some places in Chutz La'aretz they only eat one or two here and there. But here in Eretz Yisrael they are makbid to have most of the simonim that we talk about. Be'ezah Hashem, there are a few extras as well that some people do that maybe we'll get into. But the basic idea is that we eat simonim, as we know, after Hamoitzi. That's generally what we do. We have Kiddush, we then dip the challah into the honey, which by the way is a shaila. Should I also dip it into salt before the honey? The Kaf HaChaim brings from the Sifrei Kabbalah that you should dip it first into salt and then into honey, and it's not a hefsek because it's a soyrech achila. However, the Chazon Ish and Rav Ozna and Shevet HaLevi said that you should only do it only in the honey, and you don't need the salt in that case, right? But there's a different minhagim in that case. However, we move on to the simonim that we eat after the challah, and that is the apple. Sorry? No, it's not a hefsek. It's no hefsek whatsoever of dipping it in the salt and the honey before you actually eat it. A different minhagim, nothing to do with hefsek, nothing to do with hefsek. Now, dipping the apple in the honey, as we know, obviously is a mafurish song. It's brought down in the Maril and the Ramah, that we dip the apple in the honey, not only because we want the kids to sing the song, but also for that reason, that we want the kids to sing the song, and we want to make sure that we have a sweet new year. And that's the reason why we have an apple which is sweet and the honey which is also sweet. We do not make a bracha on the honey, because we've all learned Siman Reish Yud base, that Ikar v'Tafel tells us you only make a bracha on the Ikar, not on the Tafel. So you only make a ha'etz on the apple, and you do not make a shahakal on the honey, because that is considered to be Tafel. What's that?
Isn't the Ikar for the sweet?
The Ikar is for the sweet, that's true, but you can't take away the Ikar of the fruit that you are eating, and also the apple is also sweet. That's why you're having a sweet apple. That's also got a sweetness to it. The honey gives an extra kick, an extra chizik of sweetness, but the apple is definitely also something that is sweet. If you would have something that's not sweet, dip into honey, then I hear, because then a mamash having it for the honey. That's the cone with the ice cream shaila, but that we're not going into. Now, the question is, we have on our table many of simonim that are shiva saminim, the heilige peiros of Eretz Yisrael, which the Torah is mishabeach, which we know from Siman Reish Yud Aleph, that halacha is that shiva saminim always comes first, generally, right? If that's the case, we'll talk about that in a moment. If you have in front of you apple and a pomegranate or a date or whatever else you're going to have, that's shiva saminim. So the question is, how can you make a bracha ha'etz on an apple if you have a shiva saminim? You should be making ha'etz on the shiva saminim before you make it on the apple. So Reb Shlomo Zalman Auerbach Zatzal, it's brought down in the Machzor Mefurish in the beginning, the Akdama, he brings down that avada, really what you're meant to do, which is what some people do, and I've seen this before, and I've done this myself sometimes. Here in Yeshiva it's a little bit more difficult, technical, but the Maisa that at home that I've done it sometimes, is you've left the shiva saminim in the kitchen, you left it on the side somewhere else, you have the ha'etz first on the apple if you want to, because you want to have that first if you want, and then you move on. Or For example, if Shlomo Zalman wants to say, and he brings down the maximum furish, that since I want to have the apple first, then there's no chiyuv. Kedimas habracha is telling me I have to make it Shivas Aminim, and therefore because of that, I'm allowed to make the eights on the apple because I want it first, because that's the order, that's what the kids want, whatever it is. If I have a specific reason, then there is no problem. However, you have to know that when you've got different brachos, we've learned this before, and we'll learn it again, Be'ez Hashem before Tisha B'Av, before Tu B'Shvat, and that is when you have two foods that are same bracha, which one do you pick up first? And when you've got two foods that are different brachos, which one do you pick up first? The general idea, which is brought down to the Mishnah in brachas, Paskin and Shulchan Aruch, Siman Reish Aleph, and that is when you have what we call birchos sehem shavos. That means when the brachos are equal, then Shivas Aminim always wins. That means if I have an apple and a pomegranate, I've added the pomegranate, or the grape, or the date, or whatever it may be, because that is Shivas Aminim. If you haven't got a Shivas Aminim, Sholem, whole, wins. Ein birchos sehem shavos, if the brachos are not equal, there one is Hadama, one is Ha'etz, for example, then which one wins? If you've got, for example, a grape of Shivas Aminim, which is Ha'etz, and you've got a banana, which is Hadama, which one wins? Obviously not. The one that wins is Chaviv, the one that you love most, always and now, according to all Rishonim. This way we got the Rashba also. At Koponim, you go with Chaviv if Ein Birchos Sehem Shavos. If you don't have a Chaviv, then you go with Shivas Haminim in that case. Now, Rabbi say, it's very important that Mateh Ephraim brings down, which the Heilige Chofetz Chaim Paskins Halacha L'Maisa, that you're meant to say the Yiratzon. You're meant to say the Yiratzon with the Shem Hashem. Mishnah Berurah says, very important, remember this Rosh Hashana by night. There are different minhagim, by the way. Some people have it both nights. The Gemara says to be rogil. The rogil once isn't really called rogil. So that's why Dafka people have it on the second night Rosh Hashana as well. Different minhagim, of course. I'm not getting involved in different minhagim. But Al-Kapon the Mishnah Berurah says, very important, that a person should be maharer b'tshuva when he's saying the Yiratzon faket. The post can bring down the Yavitz says that the whole purpose of eating the simonim is only as a heichetimtza to get to the tefillah, the yiratzon that we say. As the Mishnah Berurah says, to be mahara b'tshuva when we say that yiratzon over there. Now, there are many people that don't like eating the simonim. I can't eat that. I don't know why. I don't know what the big deal is, but people don't like eating it. Now, and the Gemara, you don't necessarily find that you have to eat it. You have to see it is good enough. So if a person doesn't really want to eat it, there is a mokom that he can see it, and that will be good enough to make the yiratzon. Now, by the way, there are many simonim that are not nichlal besuda. That means you just washed, you made a hamotzi, you ate bread. Now you're going to be eating things that are not necessarily included in the meal, that you don't normally eat with the meal, what we call in the Lashon of the Torah, malafas as a pas, doesn't go together with bread. Now that will require a bracha rishona even during a meal. So because many of the vegetables that we have, some of them are sfeikus, we're not sure of are they included or not, that's why many people have a minhag to take something which is vadai, not included in the meal, make a hadama on that, and would that be yotza the simonim? People take a piece of banana, people take a piece of popcorn, a piece of a peanut, whatever it may be. And that's the case. He's made a hadoma for sure on that. And therefore he is now yotza everything else, a piece of watermelon or whatever it may be in that case. Now, Lemaisa, we don't only eat the simonim that are recorded in Shulchan Aruch. We have anything that has a simon. For example, the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch says we have carrots because of merin, right? We have carrot, means a lot, right? The Taz, by the way, is cholik, and he says meichatesa to add your own simonim, right? We don't add our own simonim, zuk the Taz. We do what the Chazal tell us, not stum things that are, mean things or, sound like different things and all these things that people do. But the Maisa, it sounds like from the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, which the Mishnah Berurah also goes like, is that anything that has a remez can be a simon. The Torah, for example, mentions the head of a sheep or the head of a ram. Dafka to have the roish, the head, and not the tail. And it's also, by the way, zeicha of akedas Yitzchak. The Kitzur Shulchan Aruch says it doesn't have to be a head of a ram. It can also be the head of any animal. In fact, the Mateh Ephraim, who was asking me for this? I don't remember. Someone was asking me for where is the makar for eating the eyes over here. So the Heilige Mateh Ephraim brings down, Mateh Ephraim says that if you eat the eyes, that you want your eyes to be open to Torah. The Elef Amogin brings down, I think that's Reb Shlomo Kluger, that he says, Dafka, because we eat the eyes, because we always want our eyes to be open to Torah and open and never close in that way. The Torah brings down, eating a lung of an animal on Rosh Hashana, and it's a skula for re'iyah, for sight, right? Of course, it's not mentioned in Shulchan Aruch, but the Torah does bring it down, the Torah vision. The Torah brings down eating an esrog on Rosh Hashana, no makor in the Gemara for that upon him, because the 8 sadas that Adam Avishan ate from, according to some, was the esrog, and we want to come along and be masakin that, whatever it is. That is the din over there. Rabbi, so we have to move on. Of course, there's a lot to discuss, but let's move on. Sleeping on Rosh Hashanah. We know, everyone knows this, that sleeping on Rosh Hashanah is a bad simon for the rest of the year, right? The Yerushalmi says it mufurish, by the way. The Yerushalmi says that if you sleep on Rosh Hashanah, you will be sleeping the entire year. Listen to his explanation. Zuk the Yerushalmi, what's the pshat? Zuk the Yerushalmi, because on Rosh Hashanah we ask for chayim, we ask for life. When you sleep, a person closes his eyes, he's comfortable, he's not dealing with anything. On the day that we desperately need life and we ask for life is not a day that we should be sleeping and being comfortable and not dealing with anything. Of course, if a person needs the koyach to be able to continue, of course sleeping by night is avada okay, and especially the poskim that hold it, you don't have to wake up by nights, you can even continue sleeping in the day guzim because you need yourself to have koyach, but not later than obviously the davening itself. And sleeping in the afternoon is for sure something that people should not do, because at the end of the day that's something that you don't need. If you want to put your head down on the stender for a moment, or head down the table just to have a bit of koyach, avada, that's something you could do. But stam to be kiveya to go sleep in the afternoon, maybe the second afternoon, I hear the Arizal, whatever, there's a mokim, but upon him, that's why a person should be careful. Rabbi said that's why a person should be careful not to do that. Let's move on, Rabbi Sai. The next shayla we have to get to, there's many shaylas we have to get to. The next one is making a shechiyanu on the second night. Do we make a shechiyanu or not? Is it one long day? Are there two separate days? Do we make two shechiyanus, one on the first night, one on the second night? Or, as the Gemara tells us in Rosh Hashana, it's Yom HaRichti, it's one long day, and therefore it's one long day. How can you make a shechiyanu on the second day when you made it on the first day, which covers the second day also? Are you with me? Therefore, Lemaisa, the Shulchan Aruch paskins very clearly in Simon Tofresh Vav, what we should do basically is to be Yetza. All the shitas over here, which we're not going into right now, is to put a fruit that requires a shechiyanu. Most people have a mistake over here. They buy anything in the store that they've never seen before, and they say, shechiyanu fruit. It's a mistake. It's a bracha levatola. They're doing an issa on Rosh Hashana. How beautiful. Chas v'shalom. People just don't know the halachas. The shechiyanu requires it to be a seasonable fruit, not a fruit that is appearing the entire year, that people have the whole year, and it grows the whole year. It doesn't make a difference when you last had it. Again, a lot of people mistake. You have to know halacha, and that is you have to know if this is a fruit that requires a shechiyanu. You put it on the table, and when you make a shechiyanu in Kiddush, you have that in mind. The Vilna Gaon says anyway, if you don't have one, you can make it anyway without that. But a minhag olam is to try to get a fruit, that's for sure in that case. Eating before the tkiyas. Now, eating before the tkiyas in Hilchos Shofar, it doesn't actually say in our Shulchan Aruch that you can't eat before the tkiyas. But the Mishnah Berurah and Tofresh Study Base brings down clearly that your person is asa la'achol koidem at tkiyas. You cannot eat before tkiyas shofar. Tkiyas shofar is a mitzvah d'oraisa. It's a mitzvah in the Torah, and just like every mitzvah in the Torah, we don't eat before doing that mitzvah. However, we do find many achronim bring down halacha l'maisa that a person should not be eating koidem tkiyas shofar. The Matir Ephraim brings it very sharp. The Chai Odom, the Heilig Chassam Sofer in Yeridea, I can quote you many poskim that hold the mamash it's a gomel for a person to be eating koidem tkiyas. The minhag olam is taka. They make kiddush, they make a ganze kiddush that people eat. So there are two ikar atayim, and it's important to know these atayim. Again, Rabbi Sai, we are being judged every moment on Rosh Hashana. It's the worst thing, or at least for one specific moment, the famous Arizal, that if a person is crying or finds himself to cry, brings himself to tears in the middle of the davening, or in the middle of the day, in the middle of the Suda, the Yiratzin, whatever it may be, and he wonders, like, what just happened? There's no reason I should be crying. It wasn't like one of the times of davening that I normally cry. In that moment, he's probably being judged. You want to be doing the right thing. So to be doing the wrong thing on Rosh Hashana would be a very, very bad thing. That's why it's important to do the right thing on Rosh Hashana, to know all the halachas, so when you come on Rosh Hashana, you know what you're doing. So there are two be'ikah heterim that we have to discuss. Number one, The Bekur Yaakov brings this down, and that is Te'ima Ba'alma is mutter. That means that what the Shulchan Aruch, what the Mishnah Berurah was talking about of eating before the Tkiyah was eating. A chalois of eating means a real Kviyas Suda. Te'ima, to taste something, is avada, no problem. The Mishnah Berurah brings this down, top ration on basic Yorot and Zayin, that says even though Te'ima is mutter, but the Mishnah Berurah says L'tzoyrich Gadol. Right? The poskim say nowadays we're dealing with a very long davening, we're dealing with a weak generation, people are not able to cope with this, therefore the minig is taka to make kiddush, aber a te'ima ba'alma. A te'ima ba'alma means you cannot be koveya suda. We'll speak about that in a moment. And the second heter is, the reason why there's a problem with eating before the tkiyas is because a person may forget to do tkiyas shofar, because every mitzvah like mincha, the same problem as well. Shachar, Simon, Peites, we've got the same problem as well. And therefore we've always got that problem before a mitzvah to eat. However, if you know that you're going to be reminded because you have a shoma, or you daven in a minyan where you know they're going to clap and say, Rabbi say, Tkiyah Shofar, so maybe you have a Shoma. Once you have a Shoma, we're okay with that case, which is why the minhag became, in most places, that people make Kiddush and people eat, and it's okay to eat, no problem, but you have to be careful. People make a big mistake, and they eat a lot of cake. Eating a lot of cake, and by the way, it doesn't have to be that much, it could be even daled beitzim of cake, which is not that many rogalach, and not that many pieces of chocolate cake, is koveya suda. You were over on halacha before Tkiyah Shofar. I feel bad for anyone that's over on halacha right before Tkiyah Shofar, because they didn't have a minute to open up the halachas and learn the halachas of Tkiyah Shofar. It's important to have a small amount of mazonos. You can have as much potato kigel and other fruits and vegetables, and you can drink coffee and all these other things. That's good. Potato chips, all these things are fine. But cake and rogalach and things like that, things that are sophic pas, and then you have more than what you're supposed to have that's already got a shake via suda, according to everyone. There's no heta to have before Tkiyah Shofar, but the minhag is about that we make Kiddush and we eat before Tkiyah Shofar, just making sure that we don't eat too much. Rabbi said tomorrow, Be'ez Hashem, brand new Shaila. Have a wonderful and beautiful day.